Friday morning, October 16th, and we're actually watching two areas in the tropics for potential development over the next few days. Over the next 2 days, this area of spin has a 20% chance of development. In the Caribbean, we're not expecting development this weekend, but the National Hurricane Center does give this area a 30% chance of development for next week. And in the central Atlantic, that chance bumps up to a 40% over the next 5 days as that disturbance moves southward over warmer waters. Now, how warm is the water? We're still talking 85, 86 degree waters in a good part of the central Atlantic. And as we get into the Caribbean, waters all across the Caribbean still 86 degrees plus, and where you're looking at those pinkish colors, we're talking 90-degree waters. So you look for water temperatures in generally the low 80s plus when it comes to hurricane growth and sustaining hurricane development long term. So there's still a lot of pockets of the tropics that can sustain hurricanes. Notice the central Gulf and the northern Gulf is now starting to cool down. Parts of the east coast is starting to cool down, but just off the coast, there's still very warm water temperatures, so the models are starting to pick up on some development now that we have these seeds planted for it. If you look at the GFS model, this is a look at the heights in the upper atmosphere. Where you have low heights, that's an indication of storm development. High heights are areas of high pressure. So that Atlantic disturbance by early next week is starting to show signals of development in the upper atmosphere. And then if you look towards the Caribbean, by about this time next week, there is low heights again, meaning some storm development there. And then that Atlantic disturbance is also there. So this is the GFS model, but of course we always talk about the European model as well. So let's compare the two, see how both of them are allowing us to analyze things for next week. In the reddish orange color, the European model shows development in the central Atlantic alongside the GFS. They're just differing on the location. But then we also have that area in the Caribbean on the GFS model for about Friday of next week, potential development there. The European model does pick up on some development off the southeast coast, but it does so later than the GFS, and it's a bit weaker. So there is a little bit of a difference right now, but I mean, we have to keep in mind, this is more than a week out, so location specifics are just not there yet. However, there is an indication that we have at least one, maybe two areas that could get names over the next week in the tropics. Definitely something to watch as we head into next weekend, especially in the Caribbean and for the Bahamas. Potentially the Southeast will have to watch. Really, everybody on the East Coast should be still watching at this point of the year because we do still have a history of tropical systems this time of the year. In fact, we've had 11 major hurricanes born. We're talking not even a depression yet, so the actual seeds planted for these major hurricanes between October 15th and October 31st have mostly been in the Caribbean. So that's where they start. As far as landfalls, well, we have had two major hurricanes make landfall in late October in Florida. The Tampa Bay hurricane of 1921, that was actually the last big hurricane hit for Tampa Bay, and that was nearly 100 years ago. Wilma in 2005, a very memorable storm for South Florida. That was a late October major hurricane that actually didn't even develop until October 15th of that year. And then we had Hurricane Sandy, which was not a hurricane when it made landfall, but it brought major impacts back in 2012 for New Jersey. So officially only two major hurricanes have made landfall in late October, but with an unprecedented season like this, where we have had the second most amount of named storms on record and have broken so many other records throughout the year, we have to keep in mind that it's pretty safe to say we're not totally finished naming storms yet. Now, whether or not there are any impacts for any land, that's a little too early to say, but Epsilon, Zeta, definitely possibly in play for next week. And, you know, we still have November. We still technically have December as well. Back in 2005, which was a very active year, we were still seeing hurricanes into December, but the U.S. impacts become very limited once you pass October. Still, though, we have about 2 weeks left of October. We have two areas to watch, so definitely worth keeping an eye on, and I'll make sure to keep an eye on it for you. I'm meteorologist Alex Calamia.